for donor engagement. So once again, welcome to today's session on leveraging technology for donor engagement and reporting. It's great to have you all here on this Friday afternoon. So today's session is going to be an interesting session, and it'll be conducted in two parts. So the first part of the session will be taken up by Sunandan, who is one of the co-founders of Dhwani RIS. So people who don't know Dhwani RIS, Ashwini, if you can go to the next screen. Dhwani RIS works to support social purpose organizations in their digital transformation journey by enabling adoption of affordable, integrated, and custom-made tech solutions for program as well as organization level capabilities. They generate impact by strengthening the internal capabilities of social organizations through ICT, and they help organizations deliver more effectively in less time with limited resources. Through the technology inclusion, they have been able to leverage impact for more than 2.5 million end users working in the development sector. Sunandan, welcome to today's session. Great to have you here. So Sunandan today will be talking about what it takes to implement technology solutions for donor engagement. What are some of the benefits? What are the prerequisites? And as an organization, what should be our internal preparedness to kind of take up the technology journey? He'll also take us through their solutions and also give us an overview of some of the tech solutions that are existing in the ecosystem. So once we finish Sunandan's session, we will kind of move on to the second part of the session, where we will directly hear from NGOs who have walked this talk, right? Who have set up and adopted tech for donor engagement and reporting. We have with us today Nuria from Learning Links and Shantanu from Tomorrow's Foundation. Nuria is managing partner with Learning Links. Learning Links is a nonprofit organization dedicated to enriching lives through learning. So they leverage transformative power of people and technology to innovate products, solutions, and services for education and development sector overall. Nuria, welcome you to today's session. We also have Shantanu with us from Tomorrow's Foundation. He is Director, Education and Child Protection in Tomorrow's Foundation. Tomorrow's Foundation seeks to improve the quality of life of underprivileged and marginalized children through education and training. The work is designed to enhance individual skills and knowledge so that children and young people can realize their self-worth. They are present across the country in various slum locations across West Bengal, Sikkim, Chhattisgarh, Chennai, Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai. Shantanu, welcome you to today's session as well. So today, Nuria and Shantanu will share with us their technology journey, what have been their learnings, what are the benefits they saw, and how did they prepare themselves as an organization to embark on this journey. And I think it'll also be a great opportunity for you to ask the questions that you have in your mind and get perspectives from all three of them, Sunandan, Nuria, and Shantanu. As usual, we will have a dedicated Q&A time for the participants where you all can ask questions to the speakers. Meanwhile, in between, if you have any questions, please share it on the chat and we'll kind of take it up towards the end of the session. So over to Sunandan now to take this session forward.
Yeah, hi, is my voice audible?
Yes, Sunandan.
Okay, hi. Hi everyone, thank you, Meenu, for the introduction. Let me just share my screen. Is this visible?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so I think the topic is very relevant in today's context, like how do we leverage technology for donor reporting? And I think first I'll give a brief context of what Dhwani is. So Dhwani, the journey is basically we started 7 years ago, and the idea was that how nonprofits can use technology in their program strengthening, and it's a mix of whether you want to go with services, whether you want to build custom software, whether you want to go for open source, whether you want to leverage existing off-the-shelf solutions. So the idea was, so how do you leverage technology in the program strengthening? Donor reporting is one part of the, I would say, the leveraging technology. And if I say that, I'll just show, I'd like to give a landscape of when we say technology. I mean, we classify technology in these 4 buckets. Where do you leverage technology? So one is that technology is used extensively in your program MIS, which is basically your program delivery. So if I'm running a health program or an education program or agriculture program, like for example, if I'm running an FPO and I need a FPO ERP software to manage my supply chain, my farmer database, my the inventory management. So I need some MIS system to track my program. And here donor is not much involved in that context, that they're not involved how you're running the program. So this is something, a tech system you will use internally to manage the program. Second is the kind of text, and here it comes MIS systems, ERP systems, and there are a lot of some off-the-shelf softwares are available like Salesforce. There are a lot of off-the-shelf systems available, but a lot of organizations build custom softwares also here in the program MIS. Second part is the org level grant management system. So these are basically your organization level tech systems. Here, we are not talking about project level systems, but it could be, so for example, when we say a donor management system, so this will fall here, wherein you are using some central system to manage all your projects basically. So it is different than a program MS because that is very project specific. It has very workflow driven applications. But a donor management system will somewhere fall here, wherein you can use across the organization, across the projects. Third bucket of the technology is basically your outreach. So your communication with the beneficiaries, whether through an SMS, through an IVR, through a chatbot, anywhere you are doing communication with your program beneficiaries, there are tools and technologies which are available for outreach purpose, I would say, classified. And the fourth is the kind of tech systems which are basically call it as office automation or back office tools, which is your HR, accounts, payroll, website, email. So, and within HR, then you have hiring, you have learning and development, you have your knowledge management system. So, which is basically our office automation or back office tools, which are required to effectively run an organization and scale up. So in our 7 years of journey, when we have built a lot of IT softwares, so majority of the softwares or tech systems, which generally organization custom developed is a program MIS or this outreach or grant management or organization level systems, I would say. Office automation tools are basically generally organizations take something which is off the shelf because that is not a very common requirement only for NGOs. So if you need an HR system, all the businesses also need an HRMS system. So these we generally call them as like these are the solved problems because these problems apply to outside social sector also. So generally it is recommended to go with existing off-the-shelf tech systems. Like for accounting, we have Tally, for HR, we have Zoho, and you will find alternatives in each those domain areas. So first, I just want to classify that what are the different, if you have to classify the social sector, so these are the 4 buckets we classify and where does the tech comes in each of them. Yeah. And I'll also just share about Dhwani. I was just talking. So Dhwani generally does 3 things. So we build custom IT solutions. Second is there are certain tech products which we have, which are off the shelf. And the third is a tech consulting vertical, wherein the focus is to see what are the off the shelf systems which exist. So it's more on the tech advisory side of it. These are some of the organizations we have worked with. I'm not getting into detail, but just to get a sense of that we have worked a lot with CSRs and foundation. There are some NGOs and social enterprises, and a large component is working with the government space. Okay. When it comes to looking at technology for donor reporting, so I just want to clearly call out that there are 2 softwares which exist in the market. One is a grant management system, which is from a CSR perspective. So if any CSR looks at giving out grant to NGOs, they call it grant management. But if an NGO is looking for a software to manage their donors, so that is called as a donor management platform. It's just a change in the terminology, but the perspective is different. So from an NGO perspective, it is called as donor management system. But I can see that 60-70% of the modules or the functionalities are common between the grant management system and the donor management system. I think I'll cover that from a next slide. And while working with a lot of CSRs, why I'm able to say this, because we have built a product called as mGrant, which is a grant management system used by CSRs to manage the grants they give out to NGOs. And when NGOs, I would say when CSRs look out for grant making, so these are the common challenges they face. And from a CSR's perspective, I would say these are the challenges they face. And for that, we have built a tech system. So one common challenge is the managing the RFPs and the due diligence process. A lot of CSRs get into this. There's a lot of manual to and fro process which is involved in managing the RFPs and the due diligence. Second is the repetitive process of documents. They again ask for all the annual reports, MCA compliance report. Second is this whole collecting the data of the beneficiaries is a big problem for the CSRs. Then the whole approval mechanism. So if they have to release any tracks, there's a lot of email-based approval which goes between the NGO and the CSR. And within CSR also there are 3 levels of users. So one is a CSR reporting manager, second is your CSR head, third is a finance guy. So any financial, the grant letter request which comes, it goes through a 2 to 3 level of approval mechanism within the CSR. And last is this whole tracking whether are we on track, whatever the MOU we have signed, based on the LFA which we have defined, are we on track or not on track? So one important perspective from a CSR is that they want to keep track of whether my project is going on track or not, whether this NGO will be able to utilize the fund which I have allocated in a given timely manner or not. Now, I think now with the new CSR guideline that like if the allocated budget, you can't carry over the budget in the next year, you have to demark it to a dedicated bank account. So it has become very important from a CSR perspective to make sure that whatever budgets we have sanctioned, whether they are allocated or not to an NGO doesn't matter, but if they're sanctioned, let's say 2 crore grant to be given out to an NGO, it is important that those 2 crore rupees are spent and the KPIs in terms of output outcome impact has been defined as part of the MOU, those have been achieved or not. And there's a lot of focus, internal monitoring in the CSR which is happening to keep track these happening on a timely manner. And why I'm saying sharing this perspective is because the same thing then they expect the NGOs to maintain the related data they maintain so that they'll be able to achieve those objectives. And when we have worked with CSR, so these are some of the CSRs we have worked with. And if you look at it, it's a very mix of CSR foundations. So some of them are very pure and they are also unique in a sense. And I'll try to spend some time here because if you look at Godrej, I think Amazon, L&T, these are CSRs. Mahindra has a different functioning wherein they each CSR, and so Mahindra has around 32 CSR entities, and each CSR entities get to spend 1% of the CSR fund by themselves, and 1% of the CSR money they contribute to the central kitty. And that central kitty, 1% of coming from each of those 31, 32 companies is then spent into certain flagship projects of the company. Other important example I would like to give is the, for example, the work with the Lupin and HT Parekh Foundation. So some CSRs, for example, I would say the focus. So Godrej, for example, as a CSR is very much focused on beneficiary level data collection. So they would want to know that if I am giving a grant to an NGO for helping with the government scheme entitlement, so they would want to know the beneficiary level data which the NGO is collecting. But for example, vis-a-vis Amazon, they are not much interested to capture those. They want the NGO to maintain that data, but they are not really asking for that data to be shared with them. While if you say Lupin Foundation, they are a CSR. So again, the model of engagement is different. While Godrej gives money to NGOs to implement program, Lupin Foundation has their own implementation. So they don't partner with any NGO. They have their own. They have created their own foundation. Most of the CSR money goes to foundation, and they implement projects from themselves. Dasra again is a unique example. They have a different mode of engagement, wherein they are I would say, a resource organization. They don't have their own CSR or money. They raise funds from HNIs, and then they give the grants. I think they have launched recently. They have raised a big sum of money, and under Rebuild India program, they are giving 1 crore grants to NGOs. So they raise money from HNIs, they collate a pool of fund, and then they do the due diligence, and then they give out money to the NGOs. And these are small 1 crore grants. So there, the lot of focus is on the due diligence, administration, the RF, not RFP, but I would say due diligence is an important component there. If we take HT Parikh Foundation, they are not much, let's say, very specific on the impact reporting or KPI reporting. They are more focused on so there the philosophy of the grant making philosophy is that if we have done, NGOs know their work best, and if we do a good due diligence of the NGO, there the focus is on the RFP and the due diligence, I would say. There's not much focus on the lot of KPI reporting or impact reporting is secondary, but a lot of focus is on the proposal, because they receive a lot of proposals from the NGOs. So the focus is more on the RFP, due diligence, selection, and due diligence also has multiple, like operational due diligence, financial due diligence, statutory due diligence. So they emphasize a lot on due diligence aspect. So what I'm trying to convey through all these examples is that as for an NGO, they also have to understand what is the mindset of a CSR or the grant giving body, which they are emphasizing. And I shared you all these examples. So it is also important to understand that when you say leveraging technology for donor reporting, but the donor demands are also different in different contexts. So yeah, I just wanted to share a few, and these are the CSRs we have worked with. We have built the system for them, and that's how we know that some of the philosophy they follow. And generally, now I'm coming to the point that when I say leveraging technology for grant management, leveraging technology for donor reporting. So NGOs also need to have some IT system in place to manage the donors they are working with. And currently what is happening is that there are 7-8 CSR platforms in the market. And sometimes a CSR has this thing that if you're a partner to me, you should report data to this platform. And it is very difficult for an NGO that if an NGO is getting supported from, let's say, 10 CSRs and 4 of them have a CSR platform. So it's very difficult for me to maintain my data also. And then also being able to, I would say, enter data on those respective platforms. So I am seeing that is becoming one more. Earlier, the donors were very, this is my again experience I'm sharing, that the earlier donors were not very finicky on the use of the platform. For example, they say you are doing good work, you maintain data in Excel sheet, and they generally share Excel based formats, and then you provide the data if required for achievement KPIs on that. But now what I'm seeing is more and more CSRs are coming on the tech platform, and because of the whole strong governance compliance issues, and in future we'll see CSRs coming taking more, whatever platform they will take, it is immaterial, but let's say there are 10 platforms in the market. So if it's even a smaller CSR or large CSR, more and more this scenario will see that they are using some one or other tech platform. And every platform will have a different way of reporting. So it is very important for an NGO to know that yes, this is the future coming like, and they need to strengthen their data management system in-house so that to be able to meet those data requirements from the CSR side. So one is on the from a donor reporting perspective. And when you look at technology for donor reporting, there are two components to it. So one side of it is the grant platform, which is your fund management, LFA, NGO, documents, approval, maker checker. And other side, if you see, is the M&E platform. So generally, when we say donor reporting or donor platform, it has two parts to it. One is this whole high level, what is the projects we are doing, what is the LFAs, input, output, outcome, what is the where do I have all the documents of it, do I have approval system in place from an NGO perspective. Other side, you have the whole M&E thing where you create beneficiary level data collection, you do beneficiary profiling, you generate reports. And on the center, you see this whole grant management, project tracking, and impact reporting. So yeah, so I think coming to the next point, I would say that again, sharing from an experience perspective, the core of any donor reporting platform is the projects. So what I mean by that, if I am an NGO and I need a kind of a donor reporting platform, the most important part is the projects. So when I say project, it means that I should be able to create a project, and this whole platform has to be very independent of the or scalable in the sense that tomorrow if I get more projects, more donors, I should not recreate the platform or I should not enhance the platform. The platform should be flexible enough to meet the future demands as the organization grows horizontally and vertically. So the important heart of the whole software is the projects, wherein you can create a project, you can say that how this project, who is the donor of that project, whether it's a CSR or it's a family foundation or a multilateral or a government, what is the funding source of the project, whether it's coming from 2% CSR or other donation, how I'm going to implement this project. If it's a direct implementation, if the NGO in itself is implementing the project, then it's a direct implementation. But you can also have sub-granting in case of Indian CSR funds. You can do sub-granting, and you can have other NGOs also registered as whom you are doing sub-granting registered on the platform, and also vendors also. Because this is also, they see sometimes that sometimes you will not, let's say it's a toilet construction activity, so you will have to involve a vendor to get that done. And all the MOUs of that project. So this is, again, I'm saying the project being the central part of it. And the second part is the project is once you have started a project, and then other parties, then you define the LFAs. So once you have, I would say, you have initiated a project and you have defined all these parameters. The second part is how do you want to do the project reporting. And there are two kinds of project reporting. One is the financial reporting of the project, which is whole your disbursal, tranches, budget allocation, utilization. And second part of the reporting is the M&E reporting, which is the LFA based, generally CSR generally look forward to is an LFA based reporting where we define activities, output, outcome, and impact. So one is a project creation part. When once you are initiating a project, you are defining the project parameters, and then you are defining the project reporting framework, which is your financial reporting framework, and other is your impact reporting framework. And during the project, then is your document repository. So all the project related documents, your LFAs, your MOUs, your contracts, your quarterly reports, there should be some mechanism wherein you can store all these documents together. And also there would be some things which are not part of the LFA or financial reporting. There would be some project management module that you would need, where you can manage all the tasks and milestones, which would help you to deliver the financial reporting and impact reporting. So these are basically more task and qualitative parameters. You can have a task management module where you can define tasks. A project manager can assign tasks to another person in the team. So that is also one of the important component that is required, that would require to effectively manage your projects. So, yeah. And other part is the whole, once we are collecting all this information from an NGO perspective, then the second part is the reporting. How are you reporting? And I think they've covered this point that some NGOs, some donors are interested in only aggregated numbers. For example, if I'm doing a camp, or if my KPI is that I need to mobilize so many people. So donor is not much interested in to know that what are the name and let's say phone number of those people. These are more training programs, I would say mobilization programs. So there you need to capture the aggregated numbers there only. And somewhere some donors are interested, or some programs you will find that they are interested in having beneficiary wise data collection or beneficiary level data being captured. Now, either we capture it on pen on paper, or we use a mobile application to collect that beneficiary wise. So it's a, I would say, generally it is preferable that if we use some mobile based technology to collect beneficiary level data. So it saves my duplication effort of first I'll collecting on pen paper and then I'm putting that into an Excel sheet. Um, Another component of donor reporting is that even before you get a project, all your CRM and lead data capturing, I see that also as a very important component, that uh, for an NGO, that if how I am maintaining my leads, because I have reached out to I have reached out to a potential donor over LinkedIn, or I have met him in a conference, and there was some discussion. So how, where I'm maintaining this data of all the leads or potential donors, and what kind of interactions I had, or the minutes of meeting, post I had a call, what were the minutes of meeting, what is the next section point. So a kind of CRM system is required, and this is before you get a project with a donor. This is more to manage the engagement till the uh, potential donor becomes actually a donor. So this is the whole lead management aspect of it. There, I think there are softwares which exist in the market. We can cover that, but I think that is an essential component where NGOs should invest in having a CRM in place. Whether you're a small NGO or a large NGO, doesn't matter. I think a CRM, good CRM system will help you a lot, because in NGOs also there's a lot of transition, people moves out, so all your knowledge should be in one place. That if I should be able to, as a CEO or someone, should be able to search that, okay, with a given donor, what is the conversation we had in the past, what was the last discussion we had. So it is sometimes important. On emails it is very difficult to keep track of all those discussion threads. Another component of donor, I would say, reporting is the donor communication. How are you communicating with your donors through newsletters, through emails, through impact stories? I think this is also a very important component, and there are tools and technologies which help you in all of these areas. Reports and dashboards is important, because if you're a fairly large organization, having offices in multiple geographies, having cross teams, working with the government. So as a CEO, you need to know that what are the, and these reports and dashboards are could be very different than what CSR would they would look at very high level reports and dashboards, more at a KPI level, but you would be more interested to look at operational level dashboards and reports to see whether how my program is going, how my work is happening. Am I would I be able to create that kind of impact? Would I be able to spend that kind of budget? Would I be able to do that kind of achievement what I have provisioned initially for? And I think the last part is important, is having a mobile app. It should be offline and multilingual. A lot of CSRs are now asking for the PIE and data security aspect of it. PIE is basically personally identifiable information. So if you are collecting a beneficiary level data, so a consent has to be taken from the beneficiary, and that consent has to be stored somewhere. And the consent should say that how the data is going to be used by the NGO or the CSR. And if tomorrow the beneficiary says that I want my data to be deleted, so what is the mechanism? And Also, the consent should highlight that how the NGOs is going to use the data. Are they going to sell this? And just not everyone will do that, but they should be prevented that tomorrow they should not start receiving marketing messages on their phone number because this data security has been compromised. So it is important for the NGO that if they are collecting beneficiary level data in their program, how do you build a strong data governance in place so that, because ultimately NGO is responsible for collecting beneficiary level data, and they are the ones who should maintain the data governance and data confidentiality, and consent has to be in place. Last, I think the decision making is that whether the software or the IT system whom you will choose, whether it would be hosted on cloud or you'll take on-premise solution. And I think the last is the configurable user management. It means that tomorrow if there are new users, you should be able to, you should not, I think the larger context is any technology we pick here, NGOs or should be able to themselves configure as much as possible. They should not go and back to the technology team again and again. So how do you pick up a tool for it to be more configurable? So tomorrow there's a new project, there's a new user there's a new team member who has joined, there's a new domain you want to add, there's a new donor which has come, there's a new KPI which has come, there's a new budget head you want to sanction. So all of it, there should be provision on the front end, or that should be done or configured by the NGO user. So I'm just saying some of the salient features of the platform. There are platforms in the market, but these are some of the important perspective that has to be kept in mind when we build something technology platform for donor reporting. So this is from my side. I have Archana, Meenu Archana from my team. She just want to give a quick demo of one of the platform, and then we can, I think, open up for questions.
Sure, Sanandan. Archana, are you there? You should be able to share the screen. Archana, can you hear us?
Hi, Archana.
Okay, you can hear me now, right?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah.
There seems to be like a restriction that I can't talk when I share my screen for some reason.
Can you try now, Archana?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
And you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. So I think Sanandan has taken you through the salient features of the product. What I'm currently showing you is the mGrant product. It started off being a very CSR centric tool, but as we kept developing it and getting more organizations on board, we realized that it is a very easy to use tool that can be used by organizations that are CSR, non-CSR, NGOs, donor aggregators, and many more. So for an NGO organization, a few clients that Sanandan missed out were Access Development and CAF and IDH organizations. So these are all NGOs that are currently using the portal, and how it helps them is that I'll just take you through a few features of the portal and tell you how various other organizations use it. So here, where a CSR would have multiple entities, multiple companies.
Archana,
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Hi, Sunanda sir. Just one thing, guys. I want to just make it a, I think, caution that see what we are showing. We are not promoting M Grant here. We are just sharing that any just how a tool or technology platform for donor reporting looks like. There are a lot of platforms in the market, but we are just showcasing that because 70-80% more or less all the platform offers the same things. So I think look from a that perspective. Don't look
Right,
from an M Grant perspective here in this case.
right, sure.
Yeah.
So yes, so essentially, what a portal allows you to do would be to gather all your organizational and project level details on a singular platform. So you can, include information about your team members, your donor agencies, like what the funders are, what they do, how much money they are spending per year, and how much they have contributed in your NGO. You can also put in the plants and offices that you operate out of, and the overall total budget that you would have, right? So this way you can collect all the information of your organization. You can keep them vertical wise or thematic wise, or team wise, as you wish. You can also, collect all documents that you require. Further, if you work with more NGOs and you sublet your grants further on, you can also keep a wholesome repository of them, and onboard each of the organizations, each of the NGOs, and put in feed in data about the documents that they have, the bank details that they have, their profile, when they were established, what their address is, who is their point of contact, and also collect all their statutory, financial, operational documents. How this helps is that the next time that you work with the same NGO, you don't need to rummage through emails to find those documents. So a tech platform definitely allows you to look at your data and find older information with ease. um, Another thing that each tech platform would uh, want you to do is put in details of the kind of masters that you use within the portal. Masters essentially would be the drop downs that you use. So if you're creating projects, if you're creating doing some reporting against finances or impact reporting, you would want to tag them to particular um, um, larger indicators or larger budget heads. So the master section allows you to configure these on your own and have a repository that is unique to your organization. Another thing that all platforms would usually have is that there would be a role management system where people of your organization of various verticals, various levels can come on the portal and have different access rights. So here you can see that we have configured a few basic roles, like there would be an accountant, there'd be an admin, there would be an NGO field staff, a project manager, and each of them is given a different access based on the module that they have. So this is the list of all the modules that they have, and then you can define what access you want to give, how much you can pick and choose which one you want, and this way you can control how much how many rights they have on a particular platform when they log in from their IDs. Another thing that Sanandan took you through was how important it is to collect the information of projects across years. So, while talking to a lot of our clients, we realized that not only do they find this a very difficult task to look for existing older projects, how much money has gone in, but also to understand how they can do new projects with a particular organization or a vendor. They want to know what they've done with them in the past. So to collect all of this information, it is better to start uh, gathering all your data onto a particular tech platform, and we can do so through the project section where we have details of the project itself, its basic details, like what it was, what thematic it was under, how much money it was spent on that project, what were the geography details of that project. Further, you can also have further reporting that can be like a regular reporting that one does, where you have disbursements of funds by schedule, by milestone. You have various allocations of it under different budget heads like travel, project, site visits, M&E, other budget heads. And then you have your output, outcome, and impact reporting that Sunandan was mentioning, where you can capture various indicators of your project, and define them particular KPIs that can then be tracked, in a larger scale at an organization level dashboard. So you can set targets and you can also set achievements. You can report achievements against this. So this can be done yourself or through your sublet NGOs that you work with. Another thing that Sanandan was mentioning was the qualitative part of a program or a project management, which is the task management system, where you can define that what are the tasks that you need to do in a particular project, what are the 10 or 15 tasks that you need to do, and what is their current status, what is their due date, and a user can come on the portal and update each task and also understand where the project currently lies. They can also do a back and forth within the project team members through the comment system. Then, as he was mentioning, there is always a requirement to keep a repository of all the documents that you collect, be it the MOU, the project document, your proposal that you have, or any other grant request, your grant letters. All of those documents, they get lost in emails, they get lost over time. So that they're always ready um, at your fingertips. You can always put them under projects. You can document them in the correct manner. You can also capture a lot of images on the portal, so you can upload these images, you can upload videos, you can upload your other collaterals like posters or pamphlets that you have used for your project, be it a project. It could be an image of your project that you're conducting, or it could be a collateral that you're using to promote your project. So you can capture all of these, and this will be then available to all the people in the project team to use for other requirements like social media or other reports. Then finally, the project also allows you to collect data from the beneficiaries from the ground. Our survey tool has been linked to this mGrant portal over here, where you can collect data by creating surveys on the portal, and each survey can be configured based on the questions you want to ask the beneficiaries, like the gender, family type, bank account, all of those things. And once these data points are collected, you can then look at them in a dashboard, which is again very configurable. So each organization can decide how they want to look at their data. Do they want to look at it in a pie chart, a graph, a card, and the colors they want to choose? All of those are all configurable. And of course, you can also look at their raw data. So this gives a very um, complete life cycle of a project, and a bunch of all projects together will give you more collected data against a dashboard. So this is the default dashboard that mGrant offers. All other tools also offer either their default dashboards, or they link them to particular existing tools like Power BI or Google Data Studio, or their custom dashboards. So here you can see how much fund has been released against particular geographies, what are the various beneficiaries they have reached, what is the focus area wise budget that has been spent, and what has been utilized against those. So like this, we can look at the data collected across various projects in a very consolidated manner. And the last thing is that you can also look at these in a very tabular format that you can use in your reports. So I'll just generate one. Yeah. So whatever data that you collect within your project, within your entity, you can also look at it in a tabular format. You can look at it in a consolidated way, or in the breakup that you require. These are usually customized according to the company's requirements, but there are also some standard formats that are available. And of course, a lot of things that happen on the portal um, require approvals from the organization at various fronts. So the portal also allows you to configure those approvals, and also decide the number of levels you require. So say a person, a user puts in some budgetary data, and you want to ensure that the account person is also aware of this and they approve a particular line item that is uploaded on the portal. So you can define that. And if it is if there is a condition to be added, say you want the manager to approve it only if it is more than 1 lakh in value, then that is also available on the portal. So that's a brief of the current portal that we have and how.
Yeah, and Archana, can you show the communication center? Like that this is also important.
Yes, sure. So this is also an interesting feature. So along with the existing notifications and emails that can be configured on the portal, another way to communicate with members in your team, with members of your partner NGOs, if you do work with them, is to send out notifications. So you can do so by simply adding a notification. You can either send an email or a in-app notification, which would be a notification that comes in over here, and you can define what details you want to share with them. So you want to maybe alert them about an event that is coming up, or you want to inform them that their reporting is due and the quarter is ending. So all of those things can be sent out over here. You can also send them now or schedule them later, schedule them for later. And it can be and at this next level, you select the users you want to send it out to. So it can be a mass email, or it can be a vertical level email that you only want all the field team members to get this email. So you can decide all of those things on the portal itself.
And Archana, just show the project creation screen once. So when you want to add a new project.
So when you add a new project, this is the project creation screen where the details that you capture over here are also configurable at the portal end. You can decide what the project name is, what focus area it is part of, what SDG Schedule 7 it is part of, what is the implementation type, is it a direct, indirect, NGO type project. And then you can define the start date, end date. You can also define the geography details and then put in the funds that are required. These funds can be put in year wise, and there can be multiple funds from multiple donors that can be tracked over
here. Yeah. Okay. And just go to dashboard part, Archana. So one of the important thing I want to share was this beneficiary type outreach. Because this is, I think, a common I see that non-profit struggle with, that because they do so much work and they have programs, let's say they work with elderly people or they work with women across multiple projects. So it is very difficult to see at an overall organization level how many women we are working with, how many girl children we are working with. So and if you maintain all of this in an Excel sheet, becomes difficult. So on a tech product or a platform, it becomes easy to collate all this data and show it at an org level dashboard, both in terms of budgets, reach, partnerships, and beneficiary types, outreach numbers, and the geographical presence. So this will also help you when you, let's say tomorrow want to reach out to new donors or potential donors, and they ask these numbers, do you have done any projects in Maharashtra? Do you have worked in healthcare? Or we want to work with girl child education. Do you have done anything? How many girl child education? So you can quickly pull out these numbers from the platform and then share it with the donors.
You can also use the filters on the top and filter out the data based on what you
Great.
need.
Thank you so much, Sunandan and Archana, for taking us through the solution. So I can see that there are a few questions that have come up. So maybe we can take them up right now. And also if there are any other questions, I think we can take up 5 minutes to answer these questions and then move on to the next part of the session. Sunandan, I think the first question is specific to your solution. So one, I think if you can just share your contact ID. I think Kritika said she would like to reach out and she wanted to understand how much can such a product be customized and to what extent.
So yes, see, even if you take a Gmail today, see, any product will never be able to meet your 100% of the requirement. So it would be 60, 70, 80% would meet. And nowadays, if you take any product, they are largely configurable. So I think you can pick anyone based on the cost benefit analysis and it should meet your requirements. I can share a few products which are, maybe Meenu, we can prepare a collective list of such products and share it with the larger group.
Sure, Sunandan, can do that. Yeah. Also, Sonali had a question. I think this is again with respect to the cost of a solution like this, and how can NGOs make provision for system implementation and maintenance? And any reference of corporates who fund this for NGOs?
Oh, see, we have to be very smart here. So I think there are multiple questions. Sorry, Meenu asked. So what was the first question?
No, I'll take one question at a time. So the first question is, how can NGOs make provision for system implementation and maintenance?
Okay, so see, it's a question of build versus buy. So building is something wherein you are giving, taking grants from a CSR to build a software from scratch. I would, and buy something which is, there's something existing in the market, you're taking it on a subscription basis or a SaaS basis, like Microsoft license, Zoom license, Google Meet license. So I would say for these kind of softwares, you should not, as an NGO, invest in building it. Buy it on a subscription basis, basically. And each of the softwares have a subscription cost. Typically, the way to budget it in the donor cost is that because you work with, let's say, 5 donors and there's a M&E budget, or call out separately as a tech budget. I have seen few CSRs who want to specifically fund or who are okay with, if NGO says that I need a tech budget or an under M&E budget, I want to take up a SaaS subscription based software that will help me to manage my organization programs more effectively. So, and you can apportion that cost. So let's say if the subscription cost is, let's say, of the software is 25,000 rupees per month, I'm just saying. So then, and if there are 3 donors, you can apportion it in, like, let's say 8,000 or 10,000 in each of the grant, which means, let's say 1 lakh per year or 1,20,000 per year.
Okay. Thanks, Sunandan.
Because and that is, I see that, one thing, or a lot of non-profits, I see, we feel hesitant to ask this cost from donors. But the way I look at this is that if you don't ask this cost, or if you don't invest in a technology system, you would do this manual work, which you should have spent in program delivery. And we don't count those hours and effort we spent in collating data, chasing teams to provide the data, then analyzing data. So I think if we just equate that time with the hours that potentially we will save.
Thanks, Sunandan, for that. The next question is from Priyaranjani. She asks, which is the best and cost-effective tool for moving from Google Sheets for project management and dynamic data capture?
Any issue you are facing with Google Sheets? For example, I'm just asking any specific issue we are facing with Google Sheets. See, I'm saying use any tool. Google Sheets is there. The Salesforce is there. Salesforce offer, I think, free license, 10 licenses they offer free. And then there are some advanced tools like Zoho, like mGrant. There are few more. I can share that list, and I think then you can decide accordingly.
Yeah, so we can also curate a list, Priyaranjani, of such solutions. We'll probably work with Sunandan to do that and can share that with the participants.
Thanks, Meenu and Sunandan. So basically, one of the things is most of the projects that we have are all highly collaborative in nature, wherein there is a lot of interdependency between teams. And also there is a flow of information from one project to another, right? Which needs to happen. Right now, we are not able to efficiently use Google Sheets to manage that. And it's not very user friendly as well. It's not very easy to for associates to create dashboards and everything else on that. So we're looking for tools that will be easy to use as well.
How many projects do you have, if I may ask?
in a year, so we have 4 programs, but in a year we have projects which are collaborative across all 4 programs, including, like, say, volunteer recruitment management, and, say, class commencement, or even for some of our youth beneficiaries, then there is, like, self-support group meetings, everything that happens where we want to capture dynamic data, or from on ground, whatever is happening, and also project manage in terms of task, workload management, task allocation, and everything else. So yeah.
Understood. See, one thing is that you can use Google Sheets still and then integrate it with a BI tool like a Data Studio to generate dashboards and requirement. Other problem is that Google Sheet itself is not good enough. It's not able to meet your requirements. Then I think Salesforce or mGrant or any other tool will be able to help you with that, or Zoho, for example.
Got it. Okay. Yes.
But I have seen, again, it's a bias. I would say that generally we should not overkill this also. So I generally feel that the thumb rule is that if you are managing 10 projects, 10 to 15 projects, and if your budget size is, let's say, 5 CR a year, we should use tools, but we should not like invest heavily into a very customized tool. So Google Sheets, Data Studio, Zoho, Salesforce, I think they should be good enough.
Okay. Okay. I mean, our budgets are slightly higher, but
I'm not saying your budget. I'm just in general
yes.
saying.
From a perspective of, I guess, like, what happens with Google Sheets is that if a team moves on, or a team member moves on, and it's not updated for a while, then that sheet does not become really useful, and somebody else starts a new sheet.
Yes.
So there are like so many sheets added, and then none of them are talking to each other in terms of information that is being flown. Because of, as I said, it's mostly from perspective of skill level, and not everybody has the same skill set when it comes to using Google Sheets in terms of ease of use. That's why we're looking for hopefully the resource will help in terms of whatever you suggest as well. Right?
Sure. We can advise you on some of the tools which are specifically built to solve this kind of problem. We can recommend you a few tools.
Thanks, team. So I'll just take the next 2 to 3 questions that's on the chat, and then we'll move to the next session because we are running a little late on time. So Sunandan, there's a question in terms of what is the recommendation for NGOs that work in low connectivity areas and where the organizations might not have active internet?
See, in those cases, I would say the data collection mobile apps, which is if you have to collect beneficiary level data, there are a lot of offline mobile applications which are available, and some of them are free also, like ODK is there. There are low cost apps like SurveyCITLU also, which are, I think, very low cost. So if you want to collect beneficiary level data, I think you can use this. But if you want to use a web-based portal, nowadays no one is building desktop applications. So generally people build web applications which are hosted on cloud. So I feel there's no alternative to that. I mean, we have to have internet connection to operate the web portal, but not the mobile app, which is through which we can collect offline data, and then it can sync on whenever there's an internet connectivity.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. So all the leading tools for donor management, any nowadays use these tools, all need internet to operate.
Yeah. So Parth says that I believe what Parth you're saying is that the cost for the tech can be included in the budget, and that would be in some sense welcome by the corporate donors. Do you want to speak about that part maybe quickly, if that's something that you have seen in your experience?
Yes, Meenu. I have seen a couple of corporates.
But maybe you want to give a one-line background so that people know who you are, and that's also validated to what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Parth Joshi, and I'm a chartered accountant. I've been associated with Sattva since 2018. I do a lot of corporate CSR financial due diligence. So, in fact, this is something I think this is the first time I'm seeing such a platform, and probably I think this will be welcomed by the corporates and should be, because they also internally spend a lot of funds in their own SAP or the softwares that they use. So if you can definitely convince a corporate that what is the ultimate utility of such portals or such SaaS-based subscription model softwares, definitely I don't think there would be any corporate who will not support on this. In fact, in some of the projects, we have seen corporates, supporting for some subscription of, say, Microsoft publications or some Cisco, some Zoom meetings subscriptions they fund. So this is something that definitely will help. Probably the reporting part will interest them. So I think the way you can pitch to a corporate donor about the utility of the product will be more important here.
Thanks for sharing that part. Sunandan, next Vikas has asked, what's the cost for each module in case if one wanted to buy on-shelf product modules of mGrant? And I think he has mentioned different modules, donor management, from an outreach reporting, lead pipeline management, HR and payroll. So
I can just give a range. I mean, these softwares in the market, including mGrant and the other ones, they operate somewhere between 3 lakh to 10 lakh per year, depending on how many features, how many modules you want. I'm just sharing a broad range between 3 lakh to 10 lakh per year. And HR and payroll, I would advise that there are off-the-shelf systems. So Razorpay is a very good payroll. So even we in Dhwani use Razorpay. And HR Zoho is a very great system. So it's like 2,000 per month, 3,000 per month. You can get a good HR system. So again, Meenu, we can share a list of some of the experience we have with HR systems. These are not the ones which have been built by Dhwani, but we know a lot of non-profits use those HRMS payroll systems, and they are good. Even lead pipeline management, there is Zoho, Begin tool. There are so many tools. I think important is not to be fixed on one tool. The important is to use a tool, because more or less now they have become commodities. So more or less everyone offers the same thing. The UI experience would be different, but first step would be start using a tool and being sincere about it. And we'll share the list of the tools.
Yes, we'll do that. And so then just the last question for this Q&A. So Arif asks, can we create and send customized donor reports? So if he has 500 donors and every quarter, if it has to be said, if they have to send 500 donor report, how can we do that in the system?
So we did it with Amazon. I will give an example. So what we said was we created a template of the PPT. So what was happening was that the NGO was, other than sharing the quantitative data, they were also sharing qualitative data. You can say monthly PPT they were sharing with the donor. And again, some of the information was very repetitive. So what we did was that because we are already capturing the data on the platform, which is reported by the NGO. So what we were using was, so all the data, the images, qualitative images, we were using it to create a presentation. So a PPT was generated automatically by the software, and it was then shared with the NGO. So we can, here the solution I see is that if we can agree on one or two common templates, and we can ensure that all the data which is required to be shared with the NGO, a donor, is already captured in the platform. If these two things can be met, the automation can happen.
I hope that answers your question, Arif.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So thanks for all the questions, and Sunandan, thanks for answering them. What we'll do is we'll move on to the next part of the session, And once we wrap that up, if there are more questions, we'll take them. So like I mentioned, now we'll have two of the NGOs kind of talk about their technology journey. Nuria, if you're there, would request you to first talk about learning links and how you went about setting up and adopting technology in your organization.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Nuria. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much, Satwa. Thank you for this forum. Thank you very much for those of you who have joined on a Friday afternoon. It takes a special kind of passion. So I was listening to Sunandan, and I think our journey with a technology adoption for reporting, for program management, and for donor reporting in particular began about 3 years ago. We were looking at the foundation has, just to give you an idea, the foundation has about 50 donors and about 67 types of programs that is running on the ground, which are divided into 4 big bucket areas. So we're geographically very spread. We are spread both in terms of the kind of solutions that we deliver, and we have a spread of the kind of donors that we have. And that resulted that very often results in confusion. It results in reporting dilemmas. It results in the kind of delays that Sunandan was talking about, that donors don't really appreciate, and neither do today our stakeholders on the ground. When we're looking at reports or reporting, it's a different ecosystem than it was when we started Learning Links Foundation about 20 years ago. And so we jumped into what we thought would be a transformational journey with the use of technology. And I can tell you in a nutshell that journey still continues today. So, throughout the pandemic, we worked on it. 1 year into, normalcy, we have worked on it, and it's still not complete. And there's a reason why it's still not complete, not because it's a disaster or it's not worked well. It's fabulous. But the moment you get hooked on any kind of technology adoption, then it's just something that you want to do more and more of. So it's not, I'm not frightening you, but I am definitely letting you know that it is something that as an organization, you need to be very mindful of. Can I go in and just explain what we've done right now, or would you like to just come back to me? How would you like to take it? Minu?
Nuria, you can go ahead. I mean, whatever you think. How
Okay.
take the session.
Fine. Fine.
Are there
So
any
then,
slides that you want to share, or would you prefer?
I am going to get onto them. That's why I just wanted to understand. Yeah. So.
Sorry, can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So maybe you could talk about it and then move to the slides.
Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we started our journey, we looked at 3 or 4 big platforms. We looked at Zoho. We looked at Salesforce. We looked at a couple of other platforms, and we finally chose Salesforce. As an organization, with at that point of time, we had about 1,000 employees that were delivering programs on the ground. And we had different project managers looking after those projects. So what we did was we initially did a mix and match. We said, let's our program managers have Salesforce as a platform, and let's have our resource people or our field officers or our field executives. We will empower them with on a Heroku platform, which also belongs to Salesforce. And I think you should keep this word in mind, Heroku, because it will come back again in my story very soon. Heroku is a Salesforce platform, but it's from a different product line. So that's how we started off. And for us, the main focus area that we decided to look at was how do you, first we developed an entire blueprint for the organization, right? And I'm just going to actually share my just one slide here. If I have hosting rights, I do.
You're able to share, Nuria?
No, my system is not allowing me. It's fine. Don't worry. I'll talk through it. Okay, so what we first did was we actually developed a blueprint for the entire organization where we created a complete as-is situation. What did we focus on when we were doing this? We focused on what is the process that we wanted, what is the purpose of what we want to achieve. We did not focus on the process. Okay, and there was an important distinction here because what we wanted to achieve was, for example, greater transparency. What we wanted to achieve was process improvement. What we wanted to improve was seamless communication. What we wanted to have is, powerful insights from data. So if those were the achievements or the outcomes that we wanted to achieve, then we let the technology, the power of technology, guide us to how we could achieve it. Because we realized very early that if we focus on the process, then we were limiting the power of the technology. So if any one of you is going into a CRM journey or a technology journey, let the imagination free, aim for the sky, because today's decent softwares have an amazing ability to provide the kind of solutions that you need. So that was our first learning, that aim for the outcomes, let the process be dictated by technology. The second thing that we realized very early when we were building the solution was making provision for unseen future process improvements. Okay, so very often what happens is that I'll give you an example of our procurement process. We started, we developed the product, we developed the procurement solution on Salesforce, and then we realized that because of the technology, the process that was being coded could be simplified. So then we actually changed our procurement process at Learning Links Foundation to be further amplified or leveraged by the use of technology. So don't build anything that is foundationally so strong that it becomes unchangeable. Believe in modularity. Believe in the way that the architecture can be flexible. Prioritize on critical needs, on your basic structures, which is program management, which is program implementation. And I think that one learning for us was step-by-step achievement. We also realized, in keeping with this, that as our users in our pilot phase started to use the CRM platform, our donors started to use it, our stakeholders started to use it, we had to take into account their feedback. So we kept a scope for doing consistent incremental changes. And we realized that, in retrospect, I'm glad we didn't boil the ocean. You create something, you roll it out, and it's all set in stone. It doesn't take feedback in, and not taking feedback means that the people who adopt the system are not going to adopt it. And really, the tool being the champion at one level, the second champion is, of course, attitude, and attitude towards the CRM. So the fourth learning for us was attitude change towards the platform has to have an element of, I have faith and I will surrender to the process. Okay, so it was literally, nudging our users top down, massive push, both top down and bottom up, on getting early adopters. We had a very extensive hand holding. We had employee champions. We gave enough time for getting capacity building of the teams. We prioritized based on their requirements, and we actually gave the ownership to the middle management to rope both top management and the bottom in. And I think, leveraging the middle management to adopt and use technology, I think worked for us. And finally, with great power comes great responsibility. So what we did was, and what we realize now is that the sustenance of this is not that we have reached where we have. The sustenance on this is that we are now in phase 2. And in phase 2, interestingly, what we did was we did away with Heroku. And that's why I'd ask you to, keep in mind the name Heroku, because we did away with Heroku and we said, let's use Salesforce communities instead. So in fact, 2 years down the line, we actually changed our platform to get into a new platform and start looking at the Salesforce communities rather than Heroku. Why? Because it led to greater, the same platform, clean data, better reports, better outcomes. And finally, today we have a system where you have 67 or 70 licenses. But more importantly, we have a system where each of our donors is able to log on at any point of time and see what is happening to their project. And that, I think, is an important achievement for us from an outcome perspective. I have put, because my system is not allowing me to share my screen, I have put a screenshot of what our Salesforce platform today looks like in the chat as a screenshot. If all of you could have a look at it right now and you could open it up. Central to the system is, what are the kind of files that we need for our proposals, what are the donors that we address, what are their budgets, what are the projects. We have timesheets, we have activity codes, we have approvals, expenses, donor reports, organizational KPIs, M&Es, dashboards, outcomes, everything is on this platform. So at Learning Links Foundation today, if you want to breathe, you will have to get onto Salesforce. And what we have realized, Sunandan was earlier mentioning this, that donors have different platforms. We found it very easy to migrate data from our platform to these platforms. The platform migration is easy. We have realized that our donors, find it very easy to just get onto the platform. They have a user ID, password. They're able to see their numbers. They're able to reach out to the teams directly. They have email IDs of the last person on the ground. They know the last report that was submitted. They have access to, day-wise utilization, because our platform is backend linked to Tally. And there is every day syncage happens. So what has happened as a result of this is that you have an integrated system where teams are not spending time on paperwork. Today, they're spending time on what is it that this data is telling us. And, that's the interesting phase that we are going into. And I think what's going to happen over time is that the data part of it, or the entry part of it, or the input part of it is just going to become, it's just going to be the way we did email once upon a time. And email itself will become redundant. So Salesforce, the platform takes over. Everything is on that platform. And then, we start publishing data and evidence to our donors. So I'll just pause here if there are any questions or any feedback.
Thank you so much, Nuria. I'm sure that the participants might have some questions at this point, but I would request maybe if we can first also listen to Shantanu and Tomorrow Foundation's journey, and then get back to questions. I think there's one question that has come, and maybe let's take that up and move to the next part. Nuria, you are on mute.
We bought Salesforce licenses for all our project managers and senior management, and we bought licenses also for the Salesforce community. But the licenses for the Salesforce community were considerably less in terms of costing than the actual Salesforce.
Great. So if I can request now Shantanu to please come in and share his thoughts as well.
Hi, well, good evening, all of you. Yeah, so I'll just start by sharing my screen. I'll try, and if I can share, yeah, I think I can. Yes, is it visible, the screen?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Just a second, how do I? Yeah. So thanks, Nuria, and so that was very interesting, the journey. So our journey is a bit different from that one, in the sense that we are, just to give you a short, very small introduction of who we are. So we are entirely an implementing organization, very grassrooted, and our work is all very, in close connection with the primary stakeholders, which are, children and adolescents and women farmers, tea garden workers. So so our thing was that, using technology, obviously that didn't come to us naturally. Other than the data management part, which was required for, obviously donor reporting was definitely one of the push factors. But also, as with increase of number of projects or scale of projects, the data, managing data, bringing it from the field on paper and then putting it onto something like Excel, and so that became difficult over the years, because number of the amount of data that increased. The analysis part and everything, I think Excel is for Excel and things, those are good enough. Hello.
Can I just request all the participants to mute themselves?
Okay. Yeah. So for the analysis part and the final reporting part, I think Excel is good enough. The current version of it is Excel 365. That's a strong software for data and analysis, and also there is a web version. But anyway, so as the importance of this real-time data and analysis that increased, so the data part, and we shifted to for real-time data, we had to shift to things like Google Sheet, because many people had to collaborate on a single piece of data. So and that was needed for not that the donors were actually asking for real-time data. They were interested in that, because many of the portals that are used, at least in our case, all we have to do is upload documents. So the documents are developed, standalone, and then those documents are uploaded in those portals. So not that the donors are interested in looking at the real-time data, what is happening on the ground, but it was needed for us to maintain accuracy. But as there was a conversation before on what is the difficulty with Google Sheet. So what we faced was that when we have to generate a report from, let's say, 150 to 100, 150 or 200 sheets, and we want to fetch data from all those sheets into a report. I mean, that is not that is very difficult for that platform to handle. Or maybe it's because of the devices that we use, maybe the processor or the RAM or something, that's not enough. But anyway, it doesn't work very efficiently. But anyway, but what really made us struggle was during COVID, when we were kind of, the whole situation and everything forced us to try and convert our program implementation model into to technology. So it's like, if we are working with the children on education or on child protection issues or on adolescent empowerment issues, even training, conducting training with women farmers on alternative methods of agriculture. It was like COVID and the lockdowns, and for not being able to be on the field all the time or in close proximity with the primary stakeholder, that kind of was forcing us to shift our implementation method into and make that find the technology for that. And that was a very, very difficult period to adapt to tech-based platforms on that. And data storage was also became more important, because the data was the only mode of evidence that as implementers we are doing our job, because the donor was not able to come to the field to actually there were projects, very interestingly, there were a couple of projects which started in January or February 2020. And then COVID and the lockdown, and everybody stopped coming to field. So there were donors who have not seen the implementation area at all. So this data was the only thing they had to depend on. So the dependency on technology was enormous. So organizationally, I won't say that we were, yes, the adoption of technology for data storage and management and analysis and reporting, that came up organically. But when it comes to implementation, the readiness, that was zero. It was absolutely forced, and trials and errors and lots of improvisations and wasting of time and stressful time. But at the same time, and because it was stressful, and because I'm guessing there is no, so if we are working on, one of our base work is to bridge, the learning competency gaps of primary level children, trying to do that through technology, through online, in low connectivity area, remote villages. I mean, that's just, it doesn't work, no matter how things are presented. At one point of time, there are various tech companies who came up showing that technology is the panacea for everything. So that obviously doesn't work, at least didn't work for us. And therefore, for the implementers, for the field, for the people who are, in the field, working with the primary stakeholder day in and day out. So there is always this tendency and proclivity to go back to the, so-called non-technology days, and start with the face-to-face, the human interaction, go back to that way of working. So this was always always an issue. So challenges, we were absolutely we still are not ready to, compromise with the processes and the methodology of, delivering, because the methods uh, that we work in, that those methods and the inputs, those are the things that we provide. I mean, that's what we do, and we cannot change our methods because the technology which is available, because if that cannot suit us, we cannot change the way we work. So we still are looking for a tech-based platform which will be able to accommodate the way we work, the methods that we follow. And we are still, but as Nandan also said, that it will be unwise to expect any platform to fulfill all of our needs, but we still are looking, and then we try to build something on our, with a vendor, try to build something from scratch. But yes, that's a costly affair, and also because of the very dynamic field situations, to keep, if we are working with a vendor, to keep provisions, to make changes in our platform as and when the situation change. That's troublesome. That's not a very easy thing to do. And the other option is to actually buy the source codes of that product, the source code, and then appoint somebody who has the skill, to work with those source codes and make the changes as and when required. That is also, obviously resource intensive. So immediately mitigation was not possible. And we still keep struggling with, so therefore whenever there is some kind of a hitch in the technology, so there is kind of uproar from the field that our previous one-to-one human way of doing it was much better. But so finally online data management through this data management is not an issue, that we are kind of doing it with online Google Sheet and Excel and all these things with data management. So we have, obviously it can be much better with if we are able to use one RDBMS, the data protection is much easier, because Excel or Google Sheet are not too, the protection part is not very strong. But still that's workable. But in terms of implementing, in terms of the actual program implementation and the processes, so even during those time when field presence was difficult, but the donor requirement was there, and we had accountability towards the project, and there were deliverables and milestones had to be reached. So that was lots and lots of mix and match, and finally a mixed approach could, we were able to make some ground through a mixed approach in the sense, use technology in areas where it was absolutely necessary. But our learning is that a proper mix of human element and technology actually improves the quality of the program, and accuracy of data, and the reporting becomes much more sleek and to the point. It requires training. It requires a lot of handholding for the people for the users, the end users, of course. But that's something one cannot avoid. And there were some, just to share one anecdote, is that in one of the special education programs with children with special needs, especially with intellectual disability, So when it was one-to-one through a particular field location, working with the parents was very difficult. But when things were shifted to online technology, and when the parents were, because of COVID and everything, parents were forced to stay home and stay with their children. So working with the parents became very difficult, very easy. Training the parents on how to work with their children at home to continue with the activities that we are, we were able to train and teach the parents, and to become more, increase their understanding of the issues that they need to focus on. And that improved the quality of the program. That's just an anecdote. I mean, but anyway. So yes, using my final thing is that using tech where it is beneficial, but avoid complete dependence. So this healthy mix is a very good, gives extremely good results. That's all. That's all. I hope I was audible for the whole.
Yes. Thank you, Shantanu ji. And I think very interesting to get a very different perspective, right? And I think that too real, and some of the challenges that you as an organization have been facing on ground and also working in the remote location. So thank you so much for sharing that. What I'll do right now is also open up for any questions that the participants have for any of the speakers. We can spend the next 10 to 15 minutes answering any questions you all have. I can see there are already a few questions on the chat. So I think there are questions for Nuria. So there's a question from Aditya saying, do you have a Salesforce expert in your team to create or manage new reports and data? If not, how do you manage new reporting?
Yeah, so thanks for the question, Aditya. Two things here. Number one, we first had an AMC with a partner to develop the solution. And the person from our team who was the Spock there, and I think this worked out very well for us, was actually a M&E expert in the organization. And over the year and a half, we have trained this colleague of mine to understand the capabilities and competencies of Salesforce in terms of reports and dashboards. The second thing is that we had a consultant retainer with us on board for about 6 months in the middle, as we moved from data input to the dashboards phase of our adoption, where this expert would actually sit with teams and help them understand just how easy it is actually to make dashboards and reports. And what we've done in the meantime, when we were getting our teams onboarded, we created a repository of videos and demo sessions for our new people. So those are the three things that we've done. Number one, M&E is looking after the Salesforce adoption. Number two, we have a workforce. We have a consultant who comes on to help us. And number three, we are encouraging our teams actually to take on more and more Salesforce credentials as time goes on. So I hope that answers your question, Aditya. I think your follow-up question is around, yes, it is Salesforce is per user license. And for the front teams, we first did, it's for bulk licenses in Heroku, as well as in community, it's a per user model. And Amit, thanks for your question. Yep, the initial Salesforce implementation took about 24 months. So it was a long journey. And I was listening to some questions early on about would donors pay for it? The short answer is no. Do they eventually pay for it? Very reluctantly so. But I think as far as we are concerned, we've seen the benefits of it for our teams in the long run, especially around collaboration, around knowledge management, around reports, and around creating insights. I think it's not really so much about just feeding in the data. It's not important. I mean, it's important to keep feeding the data, but it's also then important to wait for that cycle of okay, what is this data telling us? Otherwise, one thing that we've seen with our Google Forms or Excel, that once it goes up somewhere, then retrieving it, making sense of it, referring to it, it gets lost. With the Salesforce platform, that doesn't happen. That was it.
Thanks, Nuria. Any other questions from the participants? And it can be to either one of the speakers. If there are, okay, there is Nuria, a question on the cost.
The short answer is exorbitant. I think in terms of overall what we've spent in about 2 years, it's approximately coming to about 2 CR. So it is an expensive proposition.
But Nuria, hi Sunanda, but this 2 CR is inclusive of your configuration also. And it's not only just setting up, but also
total cost to company, TCO.
You would have also hired a consultant, his salary, your training time, your server costs, all of it is together.
All of it. Total cost of ownership.
Total cost. It's not only the project management, but different modules also, the HRMS, the procurement system.
Correct. Absolutely. So it's license, configuration, customization, data management, teams, human resources, everything, all inclusive.
And I think I would also want to highlight that Salesforce, they offer 10 free license, but you have, since as a 1,000 organization, then the license costs also increase exponentially for large organizations.
Yeah. So we initially went with that free 10, but then we very soon realized that the power of the platform only comes up when project managers have been given the freedom to do it. We had a structure where we had our senior managers have the platform, and the project managers were not, they were basically recipients of the data, and that didn't work really well. So we realized that it's the project managers on the ground that really need it. It also made the senior management slightly redundant. So it was there was a bit of a, because there was one layer that was basically an approving layer, and if the system metrics is right and it's configured right, then that approving layer becomes redundant.
More at a governance that you are looking at, everything is in place, but the action is happening at the downward layer. How many users do you have? I can is it how many licenses you have taken?
Currently, we have 87 licenses.
87 licenses.
So and it took time to, for example, as teams started using it. For example, we started using with HR, but then finance and utilization, as you'd said, that donors are very, 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 very involved in understanding UC, the turnaround time for UC, especially quarter ending, month ending, 10th of every month, 15th of the next quarter, those kind of UCs. We realized that it makes sense to integrate then our finance with it, so then it becomes more live. So all our UCs are also now generated using the platform.
Right. And I think one thing I would like to add here is, that you have used one, I would say, ERP kind of software, which has all these different modules. One way to save cost would have been, I mean, you not have taken that route, but for example, you use Zoho for HR, use maybe different system, but there are some independent tech tools. So it will not solve 100% of the problem, but 70% automation at least it will have.
Yeah. We did play around with that thought a lot about, do we want to keep all of these separate systems and let them talk to each other, and at the end of the day the cloud do talk to each other. And I think the reason why we really went in for this captive solution was that when we compared it with all other platforms at that point of time, and it continues to be the most powerful tool around, especially when you start looking at reports and dashboards. Its integration with Tableau, its ability, to talk to Stack, because Stack is now a Salesforce platform. We just felt that, in future, if it continues to be such a dominating partner, we would go with it. And I think the kind of support that we've got from Salesforce also, having a mid-level SPOC available at all times, has really helped us with that. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We could have done it cheaper.
Yeah. The people who have the organization have those 2 crore budget, definitely centralized ERP system makes sense. But organizations who don't have those kind of budgets, then there's somewhere midway also that you can start with at least maybe independent systems that would save on cost. And then you can move to a larger ERP system. Makes sense.
You're absolutely right. Parth, to your point, you're absolutely right. In fact, when we went in for an ISO review just 2 months ago, and our entire ISO audit, our entire process management audit was run using, explained through the platform. When I talk, I'm sorry, my mistake. When we talk about donor management also includes audit. And I think what we do for our when we have audits happening is that we give our username password to the auditor to get into the system, see any evidence that they want to highlight, then subsequently talk to the teams, because it's all there. And you're absolutely right. It helps save time, energy, effort, and it also helps develop the habit of documentation, which I don't know about other organizations, but I face. It's like this amazing inability to complete documentation. So I think it's become almost like a training tool for my teams to be able to complete their documentation, because everything, all the parameters are listed out.
Great. Thanks, Sunandan and Uriya, for that interesting discussion. So if there are no other questions, we will look to wrap up the session.
Yeah, just one thing. Sorry, I want to share one slide.
Please do.
Just find it. So, sorry. Okay, so this is just, I know because these questions cannot be answered in one day. So this is just an initiative we have started. It's called that CTO for Nonprofit. It's a WhatsApp-based community wherein anyone can join who is interested to work in this or have some questions in this space, and they can ask these questions. And we organize webinars, consulting, we answer queries, and we have Tech Tuesdays. So I can share the link, to you, and then you can share it with the larger audience. But the idea is to create a community where people can ask questions on data and technology front.
Happy to share, Sunandan, and if you have the link, you can also share this over the chat, but I'll also share the link with all the participants who had registered for the session.
Yeah.
They'll find this useful.
Yeah, it's more on the tech advisory side.
So I think we'll wrap this session up now. So as I think requested by a lot of participants, we will aim to also share a list of potential tools and solutions that can be used. We'll work with Sunandan and team to do that. But thank you so much to all the speakers. Thank you, Sunandan, Nuria, and Shantanu for the very insightful discussion. And thank you to all the participants who, like Nuria said, came in here on a Friday afternoon. Thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you and bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.